Good afternoon, everyone. You're listening to 99.1 Shap Radio, and you're listening to the Gen Z guys. With me right now, I have Tristan Young,
How's it going, everyone?
and I'm Noah Villarreal, and we're going to be talking and getting to some pretty serious topics today. Tristan, how's your day going?
It's going pretty good. It's been pretty low key. My class was canceled this morning, so I got a chance to kind of just relax for this day.
I feel on that, yeah. It's been nice just getting that extra sleep, extra couple hours of sleep on some days.
Super helpful.
But going today, we're talking about a huge controversial topic going on with the none other than the most biggest fast food chain restaurant as of right now, Chick-fil-A. Now, what recently happened with Chick-fil-A in my hometown of San Antonio was that, so San Antonio, they have at the airport, there is a lease spot open for a new restaurant to come in and pretty much have a business there while other people visiting San Antonio or moving to San Antonio could go eat after getting off the plane. Well, there was a recent voting with the councilmen of San Antonio where it was a 6-4 vote saying that they did not want Chick-fil-A to be in the airport and making money off the sales because of what Chick-fil-A believes. And everyone that doesn't know, Chick-fil-A is, they're, can I say like a Christian-based
Absolutely.
restaurant? Yeah,
they're very much a Christian statement.
Yeah.
Mission.
So, they're closed on Sundays, and they believe in hardworking ethics and family and marriage values. And the one thing that the councilman of San Antonio had said was because of who Chick-fil-A donates to, which is to their statements, is that Chick-fil-A donates to anti-gay foundations, and that they did not want Chick-fil-A to be making money off sales at the San Antonio airport so they can donate that money to those organizations. Because another thing that they said was that when people are getting off the plane, they don't want the first thing to see for them to be Chick-fil-A, which what I'm kind of seeing is that they're kind of saying that Chick-fil-A is kind of like a hate symbol against the LGBTQ community.
That's what they perceive it to be.
Yeah. And so right now they have Chick-fil-A has gotten the Austin, Texas attorney, Ken Paxton, opened an investigation on San Antonio's decision to exclude Chick-fil-A from the opening of the airport. And Paxton had announced that in a letter that San Antonio officials and stated his office will examine whether Texas' second largest city violated the state law with the rejection. And he called the move the opposite of tolerance and discriminatory decision based on religious beliefs. Which, I agree with what he's saying. They are discriminating against a company's religious beliefs because either if they do, I'm pretty sure that they don't donate or they don't foundate or publicize that anti-gay movement.
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
And so, I'm pretty sure what I'm trying to say is that, it is against religious, discriminatory against their religious beliefs as a company, because they don't talk about it that much. They keep it to themselves. And the fact that the San Antonio councilmen are trying to bring this to light and try to say oh, well, they don't believe in this, so we shouldn't have them at the airport and making money off this so they can donate to those foundations. I think they're in the wrong, and that it's a free market, and that they should be able to be able to make sales and have sales in the airport.
Yeah, I really see what you're saying, and I think before I go into my position on this, it'd be good to point out that I am very much so kind of politically leaning towards more of an individualist. A lot of times people consider that to be pretty conservative of me, but really, ultimately, I think when it comes to government should be the least involved in our lives as much as they can be. Really, the government is only there to make sure that our rights as human beings are upheld. And so I honestly, I'm not super sure, being from Arizona, and being very new to Texas, how laws are, but I understand that in Arizona, a business has the right to refuse service to anyone that they choose. They have that right. So if they don't want to serve a person for whatever reason, they have the right to do that. So I know that's not directly related to maybe San Antonio Airport choosing not to, I don't want to say hire, but institute Chick-fil-A into their airport. And honestly, if it came to it, I think that the airport should have that right to choose who they want and who they don't want. And quite frankly, even though I don't necessarily agree with their position on what they view Chick-fil-A as, I think that the airport probably has the right to refuse that. But I think ultimately, I'd like to kind of point this towards more of a problem that we're experiencing in today's generation, and with the media in today's society. I just think we have this really, really bad habit of taking things out of proportion and making it seem as if something is one way, even though it's not really that way. So it's super easy for whatever news source you want to go to make Chick-fil-A look anti-LGBT. Because let's face it, most of the time when a person's, looking at the news, they don't actually read the article. They just read the headline and they call it good. So all they have to put in that headline
is... depending on what news cast they watch, whether it be CNN or Fox, they're pretty biased.
Yeah, they've got quite a agenda in place. But let's face it, no one actually reads articles that often. And so it's real easy to just put anti-LGBT Chick-fil-A in the headline, and everyone all of a sudden is going to think that, oh, yeah, Chick-fil-A hates gays. Chick-fil-A hates lesbians. They hate that whole community. And really, they didn't even get past the article. If you actually look into depth on Chick-fil-A's actual beliefs, yes, they're a Christian organization. The founder, Truett, I can't remember the first name. His name is Truett. Oh, I should also point out, everybody, I do work at Chick-fil-A. I'm not, honestly, I wouldn't consider myself biased, though, because it's just a job. Just Truett, I think.
Truett Cathy,
yeah.
Yeah, Truett Cathy, and then his wife, Janet Cathy.
Yeah, they were both Christian people, and they wanted to found a Christian fast food chain with selling really great food. I haven't met very many people that don't like Chick-fil-A's food.
And then they're saying, or in an article or on Wikipedia, it said since 2003, WinShape has donated, which is their other organization that they donate to, or that they started, has donated over $5 million to allegedly anti-gay groups, which is Eagle Forum, Focus on Family, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Family Research Council, and then Exodus International, and then also the Marriage and Family Legacy Funds.
Yeah. So you really look in depth on, it's easy to put off a company as anti-LGBT. You can just kind of say it, but I'll actually pull up a couple quotes from the FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That's the big one of the biggest donors that they donate to. This is a quote from them. God instituted marriage between one man and one woman as the foundation of the family and the basic structure of human society. For this reason, we believe that marriage is exclusively the union of one man and one woman. So that's pretty, very much directly heterosexual. But they're stemming that from their religious beliefs, which I'll get into in a second. But another quote is, God desires his children to lead pure lives of holiness. The Bible is clear in teaching on sexual sin, including sex outside of marriage and homosexual acts. Neither heterosexual sex outside of marriage nor any homosexual act constitute an alternative lifestyle acceptable to God. So they're saying the Bible is pretty direct that sex is to be between a man and a woman, and it's to be after marriage. So that would include homosexuality being a sin.
Yeah.
And I think that, the Bible is pretty clear on that. But I think what we have is people, they make it seem that these organizations are raging against and somehow, discriminating against members of the LGBT community. And this Fellowship of Christian Athletes, you do have to apply to become a member of it. And in that, there is a bit of a message that says, This is what we believe. We kind of expect you to be in line with that. Which I don't know if anyone has ever joined any sort of company or membership or anything like that. But all of these things that you're going to join, they have guidelines that they want you to meet. Guess what? They get to set the rules. So if this company chooses to have this faith and to have these beliefs, then it's your choice to join that. And if you're going to choose to join it, along with that is upholding the beliefs or the requirements for it. So really, I'm saying that this company has the utmost right to do such a thing. They're not actively like refusing someone to be in their be a member of the FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. If someone applies and they are gay, they're not going to refuse that to them. They are just simply stating that what they say is, this is what we believe and we kind of expect this of you, which guess what? That's how it works for just about everything. And that company upholds the utmost right to do such a thing. And so, but I think what we have here is, it's not like they're actively committing like hate acts or something like that against this community.
Well, because the thing is, the airport, it's owned by the city of San Antonio, so I'm wondering, why do they have a say over, I mean, do they have a say over like who can they let into the airport? I mean, it's not.
I would think so, but with airports it might be a little different because there's a lot of government involvement on meeting requirements.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure if that.
And the thing is, that's where I'm kind of like, where it comes in the free market. If the airport's owned by the government, then why is the government getting involved in like not letting this company be able to institute their sales into their property? I mean, I guess it's because it's their property and they have to like vote and like decide on who gets to be at the airport and like who gets to sell what. But I'm wondering if that goes against free market enterprise.
I don't know. I don't currently know the position on what. I know if it were any sort of business.
Well, because the thing is, the airport, like the city of San Antonio, they voted against having Chick-fil-A.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think I haven't done any research, but I believe that whatever you want to consider the San Antonio International Airport, whatever that airport would hold, being a like a business, would hold the right to refuse whatever they want, right? But I'm not super sure if that's the way that the law is, because I know that it's kind of complicated with airports.
Yeah, because here's a quote from the councilman Manny Pelez at the meeting about the Chick-fil-A history of funding. Okay, he believes that Chick-fil-A has a history of funding anti-LGBTQ, and that he said approving the restaurant would help them fund those efforts by making money off our airport. And a lot of it has to do with once again, allegedly Chick-fil-A having to support LGBTQ and then advocate for gay conversion therapy.
Yeah, okay, so that's a really good point. Do you remember the name of that? So the gay conversion therapy. What is that company? What's the name of it? Do you know?
No.
Okay, they're donating. Okay, but ultimately they're donating. Chick-fil-A is donating. You can look it up. Can you look up the name of that so we can just keep it clear for the audience? Yes, it is true. Chick-fil-A does donate to an organization that is responsible for providing services that allow anyone that would be considered homosexual to go to therapy classes to try to work out and become more of a heterosexual. I don't really know how to phrase that because that sounds terrible. But guys, let's think about this for a second. There's no way in any of that forced, okay, if you're gay, Chick-fil-A is saying you have to go to this. That's not even close. They're making such a jump. All Chick-fil-A is donating to a company that provides services that would help people to, if they feel like they have a problem, to get over it. I'm not trying to say that it's a problem, or I'm not trying to bring up that conversation, because ultimately it's going to come down to, do you share the same beliefs as me?
Yeah, apparently they're saying that it's WinShape Foundation.
Is that the name of it? The WinShape Foundation?
I think, yeah.
Okay. So let's think about this. We have the WinShape Foundation provides therapeutic services for people that feel that they need to get over their homosexual whatever, right? Or their orientation, their sexual orientation.
That they're confused, yeah.
Yes. Look, I'm not trying to tell them that that's wrong or that's right. Quite frankly, I don't really care however you sexually orientate yourself. I don't know why our culture seems to make our sexual orientation the center of our lives. Guess what? I am heterosexual, and I really don't care at all that I'm heterosexual. Like, I don't mean to put it bluntly or anything, but I don't think we should care so much about our sexual orientation. It really doesn't matter. Okay, sorry. Had to kind of just put that up. But it doesn't degrade my value at all as a person. Whatever, right? That's just the way it is. I don't know why it's such a big deal, and our culture pushes to make it such a big deal. It doesn't make any sense to me. You can look up the statistics on it. In the U.S., members of the LGBT community, that's all of it, all the LGBT takes up about 4%, less than 4% of the population. So there's not very many people in the U.S. that are a member of this. And I understand that's on a rise, right? The number is growing. There are more people becoming a member of that. However, I don't understand why it seems like most of the media footage that we see from news sources nowadays has to do with it's so hard to say.
LGBTQ.
The community. You guys know what I'm saying. Yeah. That so much of the news that we see is about that community, but yet the community makes it for such a small number. I just don't know. Why does it matter so much? Now, look, I'm all for it. Those are people. I'm not trying to say they're not people.
Yeah,
and
we're
they
not
have
degrading
rights.
them. Yeah.
They have rights, and I think those rights should be upheld, right? But the thing is that we need to stop being kind of soft. We need to realize that sometimes people just aren't going to think the same things you are. You know, I consider myself to be a Christian. Chick-fil-A considers themselves to be a Christian organization. They are allowed under the Constitution to share whatever religious beliefs that they want. And the truth is that Chick-fil-A is not directly doing anything to degrade or attack or go after anyone that's a member of the LGBTQ community. So why is it that we make it seem like Chick-fil-A is running around in the streets like rounding up people and throwing them in? It's not anti-gay. In fact, I think it's. I'm probably getting a little bit towards the line here, but it's almost degrading to people that experience real and utmost like actual oppression nowadays, because it still exists. But the truth is that the media doesn't talk about the actual stuff. Okay. I can't believe that we spend so much time talking about the oppression that the LGBTQ community is experiencing. Let's face it, in the eyes of the government, in our laws, in our Constitution, all of that, every person, no matter what race, gender, sexual orientation, all of that, we are equal under the government. Okay. So really, if you want to argue that there's some sort of oppression, it's on a societal level, okay? That our culture is leaning whatever direction towards heterosexual, okay? I can understand that. But the truth is that there's places in this country where if you are gay, you get acid thrown on your face. You get your head cut off.
Oh, yeah,
I don't mean to
go
there,
you told
but
me about that, yeah.
There are some serious problems in the Middle East right now. And I don't mean to go towards another thing that a lot of people get upset about the religion of Islam. And these are extremists, okay? I'm not trying to say that all Muslims are this kind of people. I know Muslims, they're great people. But the truth is that there's real oppression that exists in this world where people are being killed, quite literally killed, because of the things that we are talking about in the U.S. being on a societal level that, Chick-fil-A is anti-LGBT. There's things we should be focusing our energy on if we really want to talk about reducing oppression in the world. And it's not coming from Chick-fil-A, okay? So I got a little bit off there, but let's bring it back for a second. So we have this problem in San Antonio.
Yeah, and it's not even just San Antonio. It's like, because there's been a lot of school and universities where they voted, they have like petitioned having Chick-fil-A on their campus. Like
to have them removed, or whether or not to choose that, because I could totally believe that.
Well, no, because like NYU, like New York University, they had an online petition to like not have Chick-fil-A.
To like, was it already on the campus, or were they?
They were planning on building it,
and so they
opposed it. And then this month, the dean at Rider University in New Jersey, he resigned because over the school's decision not to bring Chick-fil-A to the campus because of its opposition of LGBTQ community. And then there's even another one where it's Northeastern University, and I think they even like got like they had like actually taken a vote, like their student senate group on February 28th, 2012 had like taken a vote whether or not to like have Chick-fil-A as a restaurant on their campus, and they all said no.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's just now in colleges everyone's kind of like leaning more towards the left side, and they just they don't want to stay, or they just don't kind of believe or like have more faith in like those old time beliefs of like Christianity and the Bible.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a progressive society. It's pretty obvious that if you looked 100 years back, that we had what would now be considered a more conservative view on things.
Oh yeah,
More familial traditions. Religion was a lot more involved in our culture.
Oh yeah.
But society has progressed, and that's not always a bad thing. It's a good thing. We've seen a lot of great things come out of progressivism. Cite the Civil Rights Act and things like that. We have made a push. We used to have real oppressive problems
Oh, yeah.
in the United States, and that's why I said earlier, the government has now reached a point to where under our laws, on both federal and state levels, we've reached equality between men and women, between heterosexuals and homosexuals. We've reached equality. I mean, heck, what was it? The last thing under Obama having allowing same-sex marriage finally at a federal level.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we've reached a point where we have.
And that was like 2016.
Yeah, if
right?
you think about it, it wasn't that long ago. And
Yeah.
if anything, based on the state of our country, like now, in terms of like politics, it's almost shocking because people forget that that was kind of recent. It kind of was. But the truth is that, like, yeah, we have come a long way, and I think we criticize the United States too much. This is an amazing country, okay?
Yeah, obviously, yeah. You go to other countries. I mean, sometimes we're censored just for doing stuff like this and talking about stuff like this.
Europe has a real big censorship going on right now. If you
Yeah.
believe in the freedom, the free exchange of ideas and thoughts, and you being able to want to believe your own beliefs, don't go to Europe, because they're quite literally, you're being fined and even in some cases thrown in jail for having what in the U.S. would probably be considered more conservative views. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
So we really need to be more grateful for what we have in the U.S. We love to bash the United States, to talk about how terrible it is.
Oh yeah, CNN still bashes Trump over the Mueller report and how. He wants the wall, but that's a
all
different
kind of
story.
things.
But even like with the whole Trump wanting the wall, I mean, he's just wanting to protect the country of like foreign invasion, or not foreign invasion, but like foreign problems, like foreigners bringing their problems to America.
Yeah, and that's a whole conversation. Maybe we'll get into another time. But the fact is, we have a left-leaning media, and what are and what are we going to do about it? Is really the thing. What are we going to do about it? I think step one is recognizing that there is a bias problem.
Yeah.
But to get back, because we're kind of getting off a little bit, but to get back to where we were, I think, as I said in the beginning, I'm very much so politically like an individualist. I think that if you want to do things, then I don't see a reason why the government should tell you no. Why you can't do whatever you want. I would say once you're hurting others, then yeah, that's where you draw the line. But so, I mean, I've kind of been in a lot of thought over, some people might be surprised by this, the use of drugs. We have a lot of drugs that are considered illegal in the country.
Yeah, and there's some states have been legalizing marijuana.
Yeah,
as medicinal use.
Really, that whole thing. Well, we have recreational marijuana in like I think 7 states now. But the truth is that we're leaning we're kind of getting away from that. And I've been thinking about, because I've always just thought like, well, drugs are terrible. And honestly, I'm not going to say that drugs are good. I'm not going to say that. I would never smoke marijuana or any sort of drug, and I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. But fundamentally, I'm coming down to my political views. Do I believe that the government should be able to tell people that they can't do what they want to do? And I don't really think that they probably should be able to do that. If you're hurting others, then it's a problem.
It comes to that, I think not the Fifth, but the Sixth Amendment, or like the Fourth Amendment, where it's like the right to privacy.
Yeah, that's oh wow, I wish I was clicking. I know them, but I don't always associate the number with them. Anyways, but yes. So when it comes down to San Antonio, this airport, do they have the right to do so? Now, I wish I knew, and I wish I'd spent more time on this, figuring this out. There might be, because if you think about it,
Fourth Amendment.
Fourth Amendment? Okay. So every time you go into the airport, and this might be a little bit of a stretch, but really I'm just trying to get the point across that the airport might have guidelines. Well, I'm sure it absolutely has guidelines it has to follow that are government mandated, but whether or not that kind of goes onto the private sector on what venues they want to be allowed within their store. I'm not really sure. But if you think about it, every time you go in the airport, you're giving up some of your rights. So the fact that going through TSA, they search all your bags, that's your privacy, right? Those are your personal belongings. They're searching them. And sometimes against your will, they reserve that right. And you can't say some things on an airport. If you think about it, you don't necessarily have a true free speech on an airport. If you yell some things that I'm alluding towards 9/11 type events, you can't yell certain things. I'm trying not to be
one thing I learned
sketchy,
too
but-
is like when I was first going on to an airport, when I went to the restroom, I left my bag like around. Apparently, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's not a good idea.
Yeah,
That's what a lot of people would
get scared. Yeah,
Someone dumps a bag and takes off. Kind of looks like there might be a bombing type situation. But the point is that we give up some of our rights when we go to the airport. That's not really debatable at all. And is it good or not? I don't know. I think that ultimately they're just trying to keep us safe. 9/11 was a real shocker for the United States, and we decided we needed to do something about that. And part of that was sacrificing some of our rights. But the point is that what does the airport hold this thing? I think honestly that it's probably okay for the airport to decide to refuse that. Even that if you look at it
because do you consider it like a private business or just government?
off of that view, then I would say yes. If it's a government, I don't even see if it was somehow the government was involved, that the government would really
Because it's owned
have
by the
any
city of
say.
San Antonio. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I think that what stores and venues they want inside the airport is probably not government involved. They just have
Okay.
to follow the FDA or whatever, right? So honestly, I would conclude that yes, probably the San Antonio airport has that right to do so. So if they don't want Chick-fil-A in there, they don't have to have it. And that's fine, whatever. That's their choice. But really the bigger deal that I think it is whether or not this is a good view to start looking at Chick-fil-A at. I don't know if...
Yeah, because a lot of people
If-
have started to see this as Chick-fil-A as like a symbol of a hate.
I just wanted
LGBTQ
to challenge some of our audience. If you've never been to Chick-fil-A, go to Chick-fil-A because you will experience customer service that is hitherto undreamt of. To quote Doctor Strange. No one is going to
you kidding me? It's
treat
better
you as
than
good.
McDonald's. I mean, after you saying thank you, they say my pleasure.
Yeah, they truly want to serve you. And I can speak from experience. I was an employee. I worked there for a long time. I work there now. Chick-fil-A is a top of the line customer experience for fast food. If you go to McDonald's, spend the same amount of money, you're going to wonder whether or not they're spitting your food because the people hated you.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, you're surprised that you're actually paying for it because they're so nice. If you've never been, go there. I challenge you. It is amazing. They're going to treat you so well. And so I just find it so funny that for a company that does such a good job with customer service and really making their customers feel like they're at home,
That they're being seen as like this,
that we would start to focus on who they're donating to.
and what their beliefs are.
Guess what? Chick-fil-A is a private company and it can donate whoever it wants to.
Yeah.
And guess what? You as a citizen, if you really want to ban Chick-fil-A, then you go for it. But I would just consider that whether or not this is really the kind of thing we should be doing. Because like I said earlier, there's all kinds of problems in this world that are a lot bigger than what we might consider this as being anti-LGBT. There's a lot bigger problems. Want to be more specific? I'm so disappointed on how little it's talked about the number of Christians that are being killed in the Middle East. It was popular maybe 2 or 3 years ago, more with the ISIS stuff.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been shut down.
Yeah, we just
now.
recently heard that like ISIS has been eliminated, right?
Yep. ISIS has been considered to be eliminated 100%. But the point is that this still occurs. It's not just an ISIS thing. There's the radical Islam.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's Islamic terrorists that are capturing Christians and they'll behead them and post it on Facebook Live. So if you don't believe that this stuff is real, go look it up. Look up number of Christians killed in Middle East due to Islamic terrorism. Just look it up because it's staggering. There are multiple people every day dying because of this. The number is thousands a year. And the fact that no one talks about it is quite revolting. If you want to talk about real oppression, you're not allowed to be a Christian and live in the Middle East. Otherwise, your life is very much so at risk. And that's just a problem. It's a problem. It needs to be addressed, and we're not doing anything about it. And it's really, really disappointing. But it's all about being grateful. What things in your life are you grateful for? What should you be grateful for? Because the truth is that there are so many things that you as a citizen of the United States have that most of the rest of the world doesn't have. And if you really think about it, the whole, go back to pre-Revolutionary War, the whole start of all that. What was America founded on? And it was founded on getting away from tyranny and allowing people to have the freedoms they want.
Yeah, freedom of religious beliefs.
And let's think about it. I mean, just look up Europe now. All the censorship stuff that is happening right now. Go look it up. Look up censorship in the European Union. Oh my gosh.
European Union.
Yes, there's been a lot of discussions going on in the EU whether or not deeming as hate speech and what this has to do. And a lot of that stems from the refugees that have been coming. A lot of Syrian refugees, and there's a large Muslim population of refugees that are going throughout Europe. And why do you think they're leaving the Middle East and the places they came from? Because of oppression and things like this. So it's kind of funny. But the truth is that the people, they're moving, they're trying to find a better home. And there's a lot of things coming up that we feel that we need to, and by we, I mean Europe, feels they need to protect those people. And so we're trying to decide what we consider to be hate speech. And the truth is that we need to determine between hate speech and kind of just being a softie about it.
Yeah, that whole thing with the European Union censorship, it's Article 11, which is a link tax which would force online platforms like Facebook and Google to buy licenses from media companies before linking their stories. And Article 13, an upload filter, which would require that everything uploaded online in the European Union is checked for copyright infringement. Honestly, I can see why.
I'm not sure if that's exactly what it is, but it's along those lines. I don't know if that's specifically what it is, but it's similar. You can be fined.
It's like YouTube's content ID system for the whole internet. So like it's pretty much going through a system of being checked before posted.
Yeah. There's just a big problem, and really, I would just encourage you guys to kind of analyze the things that you have in the U.S. right now, and whether or not we should be truly grateful for them. And if we really do, and we should want to fix the problems in this world, whether or not how we're going to do that and what problems we should be choosing. Because it's kind of funny, because a big issue with why we don't talk about this stuff anymore, or just kind of at all ever, is because it's a sensitive subject and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
But the truth is that people are dying because, there's not a collective movement to talk about this stuff. People are dying because of that. So we all need to just kind of gut check, get some courage in there, and just say the things that need to be said. And the fact is you're gonna receive some backlash. But if everybody can pitch in and do this, you're gonna look to your left and you're gonna look to your right. You're gonna see other people are doing the same thing. You're gonna say, "Wow, this is what humanity is all about." It's about coming together and fighting the real problems in our world.
So one question about our generation today is, what do you think about a lot of teenagers or adolescent teens throwing the word depression around? Like, how like sometimes you'll hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, I'm so depressed right now." Like,
yeah,
man, I'm like really depressed. Like, what do you think about that? That being thrown around just there's actual like real people having like mental illness problems, like where they just it's chemically that they can't just be happy. They can't feel happy.
Yeah. I know people that have medically prescribed depression. That I know people like that. And it's really a struggle. And I think that our culture, so there's a difference between being born with what's the word I'm looking for? Hormone imbalances that can lead to depression or anxiety.
Lack of serotonin.
Yeah, and increased cortisol levels and feeling stressed all the time. And this is similar to anorexia and bulimia, like things like this. The things that you have an actual hormone imbalance in your body. But there's a difference between being born with them and developing them, because the research shows that there's a large increase lately of that increasing in people, not the being born with, but actually developing depression.
Do you think it'd be just developing because of the hormonal imbalance, or just because of social media and how
Well,
it has
that's
to
what I'm about to
portray?
get to.
Yeah,
Because if your baby's born and there's kind of a genetic problem there that they just can't produce
enough chemical like of certain type.
it's a genetic problem. They're born with it. They can't control it. That's the one side of the issue, and then the other side is whether or not we can be born just fine, and then somehow through our teens we develop depression. And it's real depression. Yeah, it develops. The question is, why is it developing? Because they weren't born with it, and so we need to analyze what it is that is causing this. And I think it would ultimately come to the standards we're setting for our teens. Because I speak teens. I know this is an adult problem too, but the truth is it's more common in young adults and teens, right?
Because of one thing that I learned now, but we were talking about in psychology, is like in today's world, apparently the adolescence age is completely greater now.
It's like going higher.
Yeah, so like apparently it starts like you don't start adolescence till like 11, and it doesn't end for you till 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with like that in our world today, that you don't become an adult until you're 30.
What do you define becoming an adult?
Like, being financially
so
in check, and then
external stimuli, not internal. So
yeah.
whether or not my body is developing to be an adult.
Yeah.
It's more of whether or not I'm mentally and Okay. Yeah, I would buy into that. That's totally a thing.
And then a lot of it is just because back then, like, you didn't really
what's back then?
Okay, I should say the decades of like 1980 and before. Like you really didn't start adulthood until you were like 18, because I mean at that time college wasn't a big thing.
No.
Because you could have actually started your career right out of like high school.
Oh yeah.
And so a lot of it is now like saying in our world today is that because of like just on how things are like it's expensive to live, like living expenses are more like a lot higher, and that the achievement level for having like a college degree, like now you start to see that more people are getting master's degrees.
Yeah.
Which is taking their education longer, which then takes longer to start the career. And so now we're starting to see like that our next middle age could be 50.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I went to college prep high school. So the academics were very rigorous, and it was preparing you for college. So the biggest thing that they were pushing is that you need to be ready for college. You need to start the college admission process. You need to be applying at places. You need to be, writing those letters and working through those applications. And the truth is that I understand it's a college prep school, but this is the thing at other high schools that aren't college prep schools, is recognizing what kind of people should be and shouldn't be going to college. Because our culture is pushing that everyone needs to go to college.
Oh, yeah.
But the truth is it's not realistic for a lot of people. If you have the academics, if you're mentally there, like you're smart, you're hardworking, you've got it, go for it. And if you can't afford it, I know this system isn't always great for
it isn't always
people,
play out in your favor.
But guess what? There are so many options for scholarships that you have that you can get. Just go Google scholarship. There's so many companies out there that are just wanting to give money away. And
my mom's gonna end up messaging me later about like if I applied to any more.
Oh no, I'm fully accountable for that too, because I didn't do a whole lot about scholarship stuff, and I definitely could do more.
Yeah,
But the truth is, you can find all these small scholarships for $1,000 a year that they just want help. And guess what? If you get multiple of those, ooh, wow,
it starts to add up.
It stacks up. But the truth is that not everybody is cut out for college. Sometimes it's not realistic for people, and that's why I think that schools should probably start putting more of an emphasis on trade. I can't tell you how many people they graduate college, they're $80,000 to $100,000 in debt. They don't even know what to do with their degree. They can't get a job. And they just have a miserable life because no one told them that they should go to the community college for 2 years, learn how to, be a welder or, a carpenter or something like that. And these are jobs that we really need in society.
So do you think there's a possible correlation that between our standards of like living now to being depressed, could that be correlated?
I think it's certainly a fact, because a part of that, yeah. Because let's think about ultimately what's the difference between graduating from college, having all that college debt when you could have done something else, learn something that's going to teach you what hard work is. Because guess what? Ask anyone that's a welder, a carpenter, or, heck, even landscaping and plumbers and electricians. These are all jobs that society is built upon. Guess what? Houses aren't built. Plumbing isn't set up. These are necessary jobs, and there's a shortage of them. Guess what? Because people are being told they need to go to college, and so when they miss out on that opportunity because they were told they need to go to college and get their degree in liberal arts and whatever, right? I'm sorry, maybe I was trying to say liberal arts, but the point is that you get all kinds of jobs that they'd be awesome to sound about. They're great to learn about.
But does it benefit our society today?
Well,
in a way,
I'm not really going to be the person to deem that, but is it realistic? Because what kind of job can you get with a degree that I'm not trying to sound like a raging conservative or something, but in gender studies and things like that, what jobs? No, I like actually asking people, what jobs are you going to get with that?
Because the list is short. The only thing I can probably think of for that job is just like curator or like professor. Honestly,
the list is short, and the truth is that it's not. It's not realistic. It's sure if you're all about that kind of stuff, you know what, that's your thing. But the truth is that you just got $80,000 in debt for something you don't know how to get a job for.
Yeah.
Because the jobs don't necessarily really exist. You've got to make them, really. So, and hey, if you can do that, and you can be a private individual and make a company that's built around your gender studies degree, good for you. That's the American dream. That's where it all comes from. That's what it's about. But the truth is that it's not always realistic. And so we need to tell people more about that. But fundamentally, let's think about it. So back to the example. That person graduates and they're $80,000 to $100,000 in debt. They're miserable, don't know what to do with their lives. They end up moving back into their parents' basement. They're mooching off of money. They're getting food.
Which a lot of times happens.
Why did that happen? It's because someone told them they need to go to college and get that degree. But the truth is that they didn't need to. The societal standard has become that you need to pursue these sorts of things, whether or not they're actually going to be worth it, whether or not they're actually realistic. And the truth is that they're really not. Okay? That if that stuff can maybe be beneficial in society, but there's a difference between being realistic and worth it. Hold on. Those are the same thing. Being realistic and not worth it, or realistic and whether or not you should do
necessary.
Is it necessary? And does it have a place, and is it realistic? That's what you need to be asking ourselves. So we need to be telling our youth, because let's face it, that they push that year back every year when they say when high school students need to start planning for college and getting ready.
Because I think when I was going to college, I was the first class that they started like kind of, where you have to start figuring out your major as a freshman.
Yeah.
So we called it an endorsement thing, like an endorsement plan. So they pretty much made you pick an endorsement as like a major that you pick. And then with that endorsement, you have to start taking specific classes.
In high school? Towards the major you want in college?
Towards the endorsement that you're doing in high school and that you have to graduate with. So pretty much now what they're doing in high school is they're making you choose a major academic plan like you would in college and forcing
in high school?
Yes, in high school.
Oh, I didn't even know this existed. That's
that's what I had to do.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, no one.
That's
a lot of people in my high school told me, and even I agree, that it was not. It didn't help at all.
What the heck? Like, this is the problem, people. Because you do that, and they miss out on all the things that they should have been learning in high school.
Yeah.
Let's face it. We shouldn't be learning about, Oh, that's the other topic to bring up. I'll bring it up in a second. That we have these options in high school, and whether or not we should be learning them. They're preparing us for college, which is good, but we need to be focusing more on should we go to college. And the truth is that we need to, you hear it go around. We need to be focusing more on our finances and economics and how do I pay bills and how do I pay taxes and how does all that work in high school? Because the truth is, let's face it, I didn't learn it in high school.
Yeah, I
didn't learn it in college. How do you do it?
In my high school, we had a class called personal finance.
Okay.
And they don't put more emphasis and stress that enough on how important that class actually is.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm not actually going to be naive, people. Let's face it. When you're in high school, you're not thinking about what's going to happen to you 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line. When you have to start paying taxes, when you have to start, working on your bills and how to afford all the different parts of your life that need to be paid for. And let's face it, realistically, we should be learning those things, but we don't want to think about it, so we're not really going to be all that dedicated. It's not going to work out as good as it might seem. So I'm not naive, people. Don't take it like that. But there needs to be a change in our culture, because let's bring it back to the depression thing. I haven't even talked about the media standards that we give our teens on what their appearances need to be, what their fitness needs to be, what clothes they need to wear, all that stuff that are super unrealistic and not important at all, but yet we make it important. That's a whole nother side that adds to depression. I'm talking about what's happening in our college levels, what happens to adults when they grow up and realizing they graduate with all that debt and they realized, what the heck was I doing? What was why didn't anybody tell me? Listen, people, I'm telling you right now, if you're in high school, you need to learn. You need to think about these things. What is realistic? Is college for you? Are you super struggling in high school? Are you really putting in the effort that you need to? My never mind, I'm not going to go personal. My brother, there's all kinds of things that whether or not. Never mind. I'm sorry, Josh, if you're listening at all. I don't mean to do that. It's just we need to think what's realistic, what's going to be best for you. If you're working your butt off in high school, you're trying as hard as you can, and the grades just aren't pulling through, I'm sorry. I would encourage you to keep trying. Don't give up. But you need to look maybe elsewhere outside of the college realm.
Well, honestly, even then, I think just even getting more preparation for that kind of person is just by going to community college. Because honestly, there's nothing wrong with just getting an associate's degree.
You're right. You're right. Go to community college. There's nothing wrong with that. Go to trade school. There's nothing wrong with that. Guess what? It's cheaper than your big universities. It's so much cheaper.
Yeah, it's you're better off just doing that versus we're shipping out like $15,000-$20,000 a year, where you're barely making it.
My best friend Garrett back home. Okay, he went through high school, and he wasn't a top student. He did okay, but let's face it, he realized college probably isn't for him. So guess what he's doing? He's spending 2 years at the local community college to learn how to be a welder, and guess what? He's less than a year into the program. He already has a job that's paying better than what most people would get if they spent 4 years at a college getting a bachelor's in gender studies, and then I like that's just the truth. He's getting paid $20-$25 an hour to go out and do this stuff. Has internships, he's making connections, and guess what? The whole thing is done not through your college and university setting. It's done in trade school. You've got to learn how to be a hard worker. They'll teach you the skills. You just have to trust the process and put in the hard work. And let's face it, he has the option. He can go and he can work for the government to build whatever infrastructure, not to get political, but the wall and things like that. Guess what? Someone's got to build them. They were talking about $80 an hour if you go down to the southern border to build that wall, to build those parts of the wall.
That's a good deal.
$80 an hour. Yep. Guess what? If you go to North and South Dakota, you can go work on the pipeline. That's another political thing. I'm not trying to bring that up, but the truth is that infrastructure things, right? You can go there and you work 9 months out of the year. You don't have to pay a dime for anything. They pay for your food. They pay for your housing. They pay for your vehicle. They pay for your health insurance. They pay for all of it. Meanwhile, you get paid $150,000 a year for that 9 months of work that you did, and you have no expenses because they all cover it. This is trade school, people. Sometimes just hearing myself do that, I wish I would have done it, okay? But let's face it, college isn't for everybody.
You're convincing me a little bit now.
There are so many options out there, and let's face it, they're hard work. They're hard work, but they are needed in society. They're needed. So we need to focus less on go to college, and more on is college for you? If it's not, what should you do, okay? Because that's just one thing that we consider to be a solution, but it's causing a lot of problems, okay? And that's just something that needs to be, needs to be addressed. It's not in high schools. And I know in my high school, it was college prep. So the focus was that
getting you to college.
You are going to college. Let's get you ready for it, okay? And go GCA. I'm in college now. It's so much easier than high school. Thank you very much. I was prepared for college, okay? But that's just the part of it, right? It's hard work and being realistic. You've got to be willing to be uncomfortable, because no successful person ever came from someone that was in their comfort zone the whole time. You've just got to get out there. You've got to put in the hard work. You've got to stay realistic.
Yeah.
back to the education, the depression, that kind of stuff. It's our standards that we set for society.
Okay.
It's a part of progressivism. It's been happening since the 60s with the whole progressive movement.
Yeah.
It's been happening
Since the age of technology has come.
yeah, we need to reassess what our values are going to be as a society. It's changed absolutely, but if we want to talk about the Chick-fil-A stuff we were talking in the beginning, our society is, I would say personally, if you want to argue on it, fine, I'll argue with you about it, that we're going overboard. We've passed equality and we're pushing an agenda now. That's why the majority of our media is focused on things that take up 4% of the population. That's an agenda. Okay. These are the things that we need to assess. We have responsibility as people to assess, our values and straight. Do we have any hypocrisies in our lives? We need to assess these things. And the truth is that we've gone overboard. Chick-fil-A is allowed to have whatever religious views it wants. If you want to be Muslim, if you want to be a member of Islam, sorry, I meant to say Islam. If you want to be a member of Islam, okay. If you want to be a Christian, okay. If you want to be
Jewish,
okay. Guess what? You have the right to do so. But our society has reached the point to where the values that normally come with those religions, be it Christian values, Muslim values, all of that, they've become to where we're saying that they're wrong. They're not allowed in society. And that's why we have movements banning these companies. That we need to think about whether or not is this truly what we need to be focusing on. Is it overboard? Because we've gone from it's okay to be, it's okay. Okay, hold on. That's not what I mean to say. We've gone overboard. Okay.
Yeah.
Because now I'm being criticized to say that I personally think that homosexuality is a sin. Guess what? That my religious views align with that.
It's your belief. It's your opinion.
I believe that God has told me that. I believe it's very clear. If you're going to do it, fine. That's fine. That's your thing. Keep me out of it. That's your thing.
Yeah.
But the problem is I can say that, no, I don't agree with homosexuality. I don't agree with LGBTQ movement, whatever, right? I don't agree with that. But it's not my business, so I'm going to stay a part of it. And guess what? I, as that individual, say that, and people will come after me and call me a bigot and a racist and all these things. They'll get on me and say that I'm a terrible person. And did they not listen to the thing that I said? I said, it's none of my business. I don't care. Keep it. That's fine. That's whatever. But the truth is that we have an agenda now. Because if it was truly free ideas, then I could say that and it'd be fine. There'd be no discussion. It's just he doesn't.
Yeah, you're pretty much saying that there's no civil discourse in this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's become one-sided. It's become an agenda. Because if it weren't, then conservatives and Christians and people with those traditional values wouldn't be being attacked and called names and being, I don't.
Okay, so what about this?
This is interesting because, hold on, because the discussion has kind of changed now. Originally, we were talking about LGBTQ being oppressed. But what I've kind of just said, if you think about it, is the opposite being oppressed. The heterosexuals that don't agree with homosexuality.
Christian beliefs being oppressed now.
Yes. Is this really a movement to protect the LGBT community, or is it really a movement to push an agenda and snuff out traditional values? Because I'm telling you, if it weren't, then we wouldn't have this kind of reaction from that community, the LGBTQ community. We wouldn't have this sort of reaction that's going after Christians, just to put it generally, Christians or people that are generally conservative. I'm not trying. If you're whatever, I'm just saying. Generally.
No, I understand. Just people that believe in their core beliefs of traditional values.
In America, you can have whatever views you want. That is fine.
You're entitled to that. You're entitled to that right.
You have that right as an individual. Okay, whether or not you believe in God or whatever, right? Politically, you have your inalienable rights.
And the thing is, what comes to like you saying like I'm gonna stay out of like that whole business is your right to privacy.
Yes, exactly.
Like they should.
It's your right to your thoughts, your ideas. That's one of the most fundamental things that no one can take away from you.
Yeah.
Is that the ability for me to think for myself without being just told everything. And the truth is that's under attack. There's no more free exchange of ideas because there's an agenda being pushed for everything. So, to go back on, to go a little more specifically, there's a case that came up recently, I believe in the last week, that was legislation was voted on in California about the sex education system in schools.
Yeah. You mentioned that when we were walking over.
Yeah, it's really interesting. California is been viewed predominantly as a liberal, more progressive state, right? That's fine. Just look at the voting patterns, whatever, right? But in our school, it's become mandated law in the school systems in California that it's more than just sex education. It's now sexuality education. As
like trying to figure out who you are.
Who are you? What sexual orientation do you have? And guess what? This is K through 12. Do you want your elementary aged kid being told that you might not be heterosexual or whatever? Well, okay, that sounds really bad of me to say. I'm not trying to offend anybody.
But being exposed to that.
But being exposed to that. Here's the thing. That elementary school aged person, they don't have the ability to think for themselves yet. They don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
And so I understand that they're going to argue that by me saying that they need, they don't even know if they might align with that sort of community, right? They might align with that. You're right. They might. But leave it up to the parents, because the thing is that parents are being criticized now. Parents are coming out and saying that it's too much too soon is a big quote that's been going around, where parents are saying, I don't want my kid to go to school anymore because I don't want them to be exposed to those sorts of ideas. And the truth is that according to the education system, public education, that's mandated. They have to be. And should you have the right to do so? It's, I'm not super researched in it. It's a new topic. Go look it up.
We'll definitely get into discussion that one next week.
Get multiple sources, so you're not getting one side. But yeah, that's our culture nowadays.
Yeah.
So.
All right, these are all like really good points coming from you, Tristan. But sadly, we gotta end the show right now.
Man, I could keep going.
I know, I'd love to, man, but we gotta go. But you have been listening to the Gen Z guys on 99.1 Shap Radio. If you can follow us on our Instagram page and let us know what are topics and things you want to hear at the Gen Z _guys. This has been Tristan and Noah. Honestly, dude, like, you were on fire. You were like Alex Jones right there for a minute. I thought you were gonna...
Nope, not Alex Jones.
But you just listened to the Gen Z guys, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whatever time of day you're listening to this, and I hope you have a nice life.